Defence chief spent more than £200 million of taxpayers' money on travel, luxury stays for senior staff. We're talking about, of course, senior military top brass, also civil servants, destinations for officers and Whitehall staff, MOD civil servants included the French Alps and Las Vegas. And when in London, Ministry of Defence personnel routinely stayed at £400 a night hotels. Meanwhile, the military rank and file subsist in rat-infested accommodation riven with black mould. These dilapidated conditions have triggered an astonishing 60,000 complaints from our troops. So there's something wrong in this picture. Let's speak to former Director General at the Ministry of Defence, Rear Admiral Chris Parry. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hi, Kevin.
Well, do you share my disquiet about this information? I mean, I understand that Ministry of Defence personnel, senior top brass, have to travel around, and I'm not expecting them to stay in caravan parks. But £200 million of taxpayers' money on expensive hotels and swish travel, air flights to places like Las Vegas and the French Alps, while military personnel, while the rank and file stay in are forced to live in accommodation that is pretty notoriously dilapidated. There's something wrong here, isn't there?
There's been something wrong for quite a long time. Oddly enough, when I was a director, not a Director General in the Ministry of Defence, I did a report on service accommodation, which was absolutely frightful. And it involved one regiment that was staying in Aldershot, of which 40% went home every night to South Wales because they wanted a shower and a good night's sleep. And we were complaining about it at the time. It's the real problem with the Ministry of Defence for a long time has been that it gives a lot of its functions to agencies, and they're not held to account, frankly, agencies and also sort of contractors who essentially bid low and, of course, deliver low. I can tell you on the accommodation and travel side, when I was still serving as a Rear Admiral, we tried to book our own accommodation and travel and found that we could do it 30% of what was being offered by the agency that was contracted to do all the accommodation and travel for the mod. Instead of getting a sort of well done for it, I got a reprimand for it for going outside the established protocols, but we were working out that we could actually save the mod quite a lot of money. So I'm afraid it's laziness, it's the way in which the contractual arrangements work, and as you hinted, it's turning a blind eye to really how we should treat our people. I should say though, Kevin, you know, the money you're talking about is over 6 years. It's not just a yearly sum. Some of it will be justified. But, you know, people travel, they don't travel business class. Even senior officers don't travel business class. They go, depending on the length of the journey, they either go economy or premium economy most of the time. And I think the Daily Mail's been a bit cheeky. I mean, they might be staying in £400 hotels, but they won't be paying £400. They'll be paying something around 180 or something like that, which is what is allowed in London nowadays.
Yeah, and in fairness, it's hard to find hotels that are much cheaper than 400 quid anywhere near central London. But I mean, on a general basis, you know, why does the Ministry of Defence, and I realise you're not there anymore, why does it spend £4 million a year on 62 full-time diversity staff? I mean, couldn't you take some of that money and improve the accommodation for the rank and file? Those poor people who are having to go all the way from Aldershot to South Wales just to get a shower?
Yeah, probably not the best one to talk to because I'm on record as having been, as having said that if you have to have a DEI organisation within your unit, you've probably got a problem with your leadership. And for that, I'm now not allowed to speak at the Defence Academy because it's politically incorrect, and they don't want me corrupting the minds of our mid-seniority officers.
It is a bit odd, isn't it, Chris, though, because you'll be aware of this, and you know I know this from my friends in politics in Westminster and people who work in Whitehall, that the Ministry of Defence has got this reputation for being the wokest ministry of them all. By the way, the diversity staff, there's 62 diversity staff who work at the MOD, 62, count them. Do you know what they call themselves? They call themselves protecting the protectors. Why do you think it is that the Ministry of Defence, of all ministries, is the wokest of them all? It seems a bit weird.
Well, the reason is that if you work in a hierarchy for most of your life and your career depends on conforming, then you're not going to say no to any of this. If you stick your neck out here, you're not going to get promoted. And so it's a conspiracy, I'm afraid, amongst those people who want to get on. The first person that stands up and says this is all complete rubbish will get trashed. There's no question about it. And I'm afraid to say that, you know, I have a doctorate in psychology. It's all about how hierarchies operate. And I'm afraid to say that the radicals, or those that actually point out that the emperor has new clothes, get binned.
Yeah, you're so right about that, Chris. He who speaks out kind of sacrifices his career, I should say, he or she, of course, and non-binary people as well. Got to remember the diversity staff at the MOD.
All I can tell you, Kevin, is that all this rubbish doesn't survive first contact with the enemy.
Exactly. We're almost forgetting here, I'm sure you didn't, but I almost did, that the Ministry of Defence actually does have quite an important job to do, you know, defending this country, defending this realm. And there they are, obsessing on DEI. But why, to go back to our original point, Chris, the travel is something that should be looked at, I think, definitely. But why is the MOD or the people who run the armed forces, why are they not giving a priority to improving the accommodation for our brave people who serve in our forces? That should be a #1 priority, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I agree. But the problem is, Kevin, they're being asked to do quite a lot on the front line. And so what tends to happen is they cut the tail so that you can preserve the teeth. But when I was in the service, I always used to say to my seniors, when I got to be senior, look, you know, if you cut the tail too much, you get to the gums and the teeth fall out. And this is a classic case of that. If you treat your people badly, they're going to leave, their morale's poor. And when you finally put them into action, they're not in the best shape to do it. So investment in your people, it should be absolutely everything. I mean, going back to the travel thing, Kevin, I used to say to my people when I used to send them off around the world for various things, I said, if you can prove by sitting in a club class seat on that journey that you bring back the same amount of value to this country and to my organisation, go ahead. I don't care, you know, because that's what it's about. What I object to is wasted money. I mean, your French Alps, quotation, I know what that'll be about. That'll be senior officers supporting the Royal Navy Disabled Ski Club, for example.
Okay, all right.
You know, it's things like that. But, you know, do they need to go? No, they don't. The skiers can get on with it on their own, to tell you the truth.
I'll tell you the way it goes, right? So I'm an old Fleet Street hack, so I was there in the days of strict unionisation where, you know, pretty much you got everything. And so reporters, we used to fly everywhere, but business class, club class, unless it was a long haul, and then it was first class.
Wow.
And then it was first class. So it was like, oh, yeah, great, yeah. And obviously we always stayed at great hotels. Then the unions kind of began to collapse. And so the bosses turned round to us all and said, right, if you want to go to Los Angeles or Mexico or wherever you're being sent, or Australia, you have to go economy class from now on. How is that with you? So we sort of go, so if we don't go economy, we don't go at all. And they go, yeah, that's about it. And so we went, yeah, all right, then we'll go economy. People tend to take whatever they're offered, don't they?
The problem is, Kevin, you have a situation where you get different budgets and different organisations. I remember travelling economy class to the United States with 2 chief petty officers who worked in a separate organisation, the equivalent of sergeants sitting in business class. So you can get these anomalies.
Oh dear, it's a mad world, Chris. It's a mad world. But listen,
yeah, we're part of it.
Yeah, we certainly are. Really good to have you on board. Thank you very much.
Take care.
That's Chris Parry, former director at the Ministry of Defence.